Hey, what's going on, Ten HUD? What's going on? What's going on? It is 7 p.m. Pacific time, and we are here. It is the Ten HUD show with a side of whiskey. Today, I don't have my whiskey. My fault, guys.
Salud.
Salud.
Salute. Anyways, guys, today is part two of the federal resume or developing your federal resume. Because on the last week, we talked about getting setting up your entire site, your profile on USA jobs. So now it's about getting your federal resume done, and I'm gonna pass it on to you guys because you guys are already working for the federal government.
Before we get started, I want to
Yeah.
ask our viewers, would they appreciate a meme every show?
No, yeah,
And then explain by Jose, because Jose says he's like the master of deciphering military memes.
yeah. We should do where every episode, because last week, like we talked about, or among us, we shared a couple of memes of military memes, and let me see if I can find it.
And you said you wonder if other non-military individuals understand what is the contents of these memes, so you want to bring up a meme and explain it to them every show. So you know what, for our viewers right now, whenever you get a chance,
Yeah, comment,
drop in a comment.
or comment, put a comment on the on the comment section if you want us to review a meme. Like today, I'm just gonna throw this out there today because we were sharing.
Oh my God.
Last week. It's this one.
Oh.
It ain't easy adjusting to a civilian job, and it's a dude.
Career.
Full battle rattle. Oh yeah, career. Full battle rattle trying to put cocking on a crack. Like if he's about to assault that. So.
Since we're talking about memes right now, I got a good one. I don't think I sent you guys
my
this
God.
one. No, hold on. Now I'm gonna read it. Me and my battle buddy about to wake up my platoon sergeant to tell him that we wrecked the Humvee.
Oh. I sent you that one.
Oh, you sent me that one? Okay, that was.
Yeah, so this is why I want to explain it. Like, why is it? Why is this meme funny? Because the minute
you don't wake up your platoon sergeant.
And it's funny because platoon sergeant is like they made him fat.
He must be Air Force.
Hey, that
must be a Navy
board.
thing. Yeah, that's across the board. Yeah, for sure.
For us, it would be the an E7, a master sergeant. You don't wake them up, man, because they're grumpy people. They're like getting up to that age where they're just grumpy people.
Everything hurts.
Everything's grumpiness.
Yeah.
But let's bring it back to the show. I think y'all should comment about this whole.
Doing a meme review. Hey, well, first
let
off,
us know. Let us know.
We are 10 Hut with the side of whiskey, and today you brought up your Knob Creek. How is that right now?
Oh, Knob Creek. I got the good stuff right now.
Yeah, bourbon whiskey from Kentucky.
Yeah, 100 proof. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
But it's pretty good. I like the little woodsy kind of flavor. If you're into that, it's a little strong, but we'll see.
Yeah. Again, we're not enticing people to drink more. We're just doing it's a side of whiskey. We're relaxed and we're just talking shop. We're just talking about our military experience, our government experience, and stuff like that. Yeah. So if you are going to drink, drink responsibly.
Yep.
So. Definitely.
Make sure you get a DD if you're not home.
All right. So getting back to last week's session, we kind of left off with resumes. We didn't get to go knee deep into the resumes. So I'm going to share my screen real quick so you can get a little more familiar with what we're talking about. So let's see. All right. Everybody see that?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. So this section right here of USA Jobs is where your documents, where you would put all your SF-15 that we talked about, SF-50, and all the other stuff would be under other right here. Your resumes would be here. You can do up to 5 resumes. I usually keep 4 different ones that are targeted to the positions that I'm looking for. Whether it's specific to the VA or specific to construction, because I've done that, and then also specific to DHS And then I also have one that's just built by USA Jobs. This is the one that I was saying that you put in all your information and it asks you everything, and it builds a resume for you. Some jobs require that that's what you upload. Let me see. So I have my resume right here. I blacked out some stuff because personal information or stuff that I shouldn't be disclosing.
You need a clearance for that, guys.
What's that?
Yeah, you
need a clearance for that.
Yeah. So I blacked out some stuff just because it's just personal to me. So the first thing is make sure you list your full name, and if you have titles, make sure you include them. I have about 50 different titles because I am a PMP and I also have a black belt. So I could put MBA, comma, PMP, comma, Six Sigma black belt, but I decided to put it more over here in my professional summary. Now these are suggestions because remember, resumes are tailored to you. If you want to phrase this as your professional objective or your objective, or like I have professional summary, that's up to you. So I put distinguishing things that are very particular, but I always end it with the job that I'm looking for. So that way they know that that's what I'm targeting. That's why I'm reaching out to them to be able to get that job. I want to be a management program analyst within an agency. I can even put in here the agency if I want, but usually I want to end my like I said, objective or whatever into that last segment.
Yeah.
One thing that these jobs require is that you are a U.S. citizen for a lot of jobs. So I clearly state that so that way there's no question that that's in there. And if they wanted to look more into it, then they can look into my personal documents that I submit to be able to verify that I am a U.S. citizen. The next thing is my preference. So I am 30% plus, which is one preference. I qualify for all of these type of hires. And last week we spoke about direct hiring authority. If you want to get more clarification of different ways to get hired, go to opm.gov. opm.gov. If you type in there different hiring authorities, it'll be able to explain what those authorities are. And then clearances, some require different clearances. I have several different clearances. Just because you have a military clearance doesn't mean that other agencies will validate it. It helps, but it won't be valid. So for Department of Homeland Security, you have to have their specific clearance. For the VA, you need to have your own clearance there. For the DOD, you need to have a DOD clearance. If you were in the military and you start working for a DOD, then you'll get a DOD clearance from them, or you could use your DOD clearance that you had as long as it's active. Remember, your clearance expires after 2 years of not using it. So that means if you've been out of service for longer than 2 years, most likely your clearance is expired or it's inactive, which they can reactivate it, but it depends on the circumstances, and the agency can tell you. No matter where you go, if they hire you, they're going to run their background, and if you already have the clearance, and they'll give it to you, and the investigation ends there. So I work for Department of Homeland Security for a while. Right now, currently I'm working somewhere else, but this is kind of an older resume. One of the big things is identify the agency that you last worked for. If you work for a company, then you list the company's name. After that, your title that you had at your last organization. And then here, by the way, the thing that's redacted here is my address and my phone number and personal email. I don't want y'all to come visit me at my home, so that's why I redacted. Over here, you're going to put the address of where you worked. They need the full address of where you worked. And then your supervisor's name and title would go here. And then here, your GS level or your pay, whatever you were being paid, goes here. So if you're a GS, so they want the full title. So if you were a GS dash 0301, which is like your AFSC, and then dash your grade. So if you're a GS 13, then it would say GS 13. So GS dash 0301 or 343 for me, dash 13 for my grade, and then your step. And we talked about that a little bit. If you're civilian, all you need to put is your salary. What were you making last? The reason that they want to know is because they want to know your comp. Are you going to be losing a lot of money and you're not going to be able to sustain? They also do financial background investigations where they check if you are defaulted on anything. So they want to make sure that you're not going to be defaulting on your mortgage or your property because you're not making enough money.
Or your student loans.
Or your student loans, yes.
That's
your student
very
loans.
important.
So they do run your credit. It's a career credit run, so it doesn't really affect you. But just be cognizant of that. If you got backed up child support or anything, they're gonna ask you about it. They're gonna ask you about any delinquencies that you have. So be cognizant about that. All right. So starting with the resume, I update my resume every Friday because I want to make sure that I got the most up to date and the best stuff that I'm going to put in my resume. You can do up to 5 pages, no more than 5 pages. After the 5 pages, if you have a 6, they won't read it. They'll cut it off. They'll chop it right off. So whatever's in the 6th page doesn't matter. So I put in the highest things that I did for the last organization. And for this organization, I have a full page. That's okay. Civilian resumes don't sit that well that way. So
Yeah.
make sure. Big thing is that think about whenever you're like doing some type of whenever you're reading something or looking at something. If you see a bunch of words, they don't really stick out. What sticks out is the numbers that are embedded in the words because it's different, and that's what you want. The person that's reviewing your resume is to be able to see the numbers of what you completed. What were you able to accomplish? So same thing here. This is a private company. So I put the name of the company, my supervisor, his title, and then my title, the hours, the amount of hours I worked a week. And then lastly, my salary goes down here. If it's a GS job, then you would put a GS because they can look that up. So GS positions are not. So if I'm a GS 13 in Los Angeles, they can look up what a GS 13 in Los Angeles makes. So
that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. So on that section, because it is different, the GS pay is different in different counties.
Yeah.
Where would you put that? So if you're working in LA, it is different than working in San Bernardino or working any of the your pay.
So underneath the title here is the address of where I work. Yeah. So they would be able to say, all right, so your locality is Los Angeles. So we need to go by Los Angeles GS. And because of locality, you might be if you say you move somewhere else and the pay is higher in that location, you might be get some extra steps because they need to match it or be above. And that's one of the things that people forget is they have to match your pay or be above your pay. So if it requires an extra step to be above the pay, then they'll give you that extra step, as long as you can prove that that was your last step that you were in and grade. So same thing here as before. A little bit shorter. I was there for very short. I got the job with the federal government. After that, same thing here. The hours that you work, if you work a lot more, so that breaks down how much your pay, right? So maybe I did make $150,000 a year, broken down into 60 hours a week. It's a lot less than if I was working 40 and making 150. So you got to think about that. And the GS positions, they go by 80 hours per pay period. So 2 weeks, it should max out at 80 hours. Anything above that is overtime with GS positions. So just remember that whenever it comes to that stuff. So same thing here, just, all my information, all the stuff that I did, whenever I worked at a location, who did I report to, their address, and phone number, address and phone number is disclosed there. Same thing here.
One thing that I want the audience to notice is notice that it's bullet pointed and it isn't, although it looks busy, but it is bullet pointed and broken down into each task. I've seen a lot of resumes throughout my career that the description gets very detailed.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned earlier, as long as you can provide concise and appropriate numbers for those bullet points, like if you increase their productivity by, so much, then you put that and you don't add too much verbiage to it so that it doesn't distract the reader from just looking at that from the numbers. So bullet point it, make it short, make it concise so that it gets to the point.
Yeah. One of the big things, if you notice, that first job is lengthy, right? Because that's the job that I want, and that's what I want to continue doing. Now, if you look at these jobs down here, project management applies to anything. So, as you know, I want to put what I did as a project manager: cost, budget, performance reports, risk management, forecasting. I want to put that in there because those are keywords that are in the jobs that I'm looking for. So what you want is that the computer, when they do their AI gathering of information, that they see that you do have the keywords that they're looking for. Can you do scheduling? Can I do budget? Can I do cost maintenance? Can I do a subcontract? Can I do a contract? Can I review plans and develop plans? So I want to put those keywords into my bullets. Now, if you notice down here, I have one. It's not that I didn't do much in this job. I actually did a lot, but none of the stuff that I did in this position really applies to what I'm trying to get now. You know, the job that I'm in now as an analyst or a management program analyst. So I have limited the information that's here. Now down here in the military, I have 12 years of service. So I have an abundance of things, but I want to put the things that highlight that I did program management and project management. Even though I was an instructor, I'm not going to put I'm not just going to sit there and put like exactly what it is. I want to put something that correlates with the outside agencies to be able to put that out there and say, hey, look, I was in the military for 12 years, but it wasn't a waste of time. I actually did a lot of things that correlate with the stuff that I'm doing now,
So when you're sitting down and breaking down your resume, you want to have that job description of the job that you want, and have your resume handy so that those keywords that Will was talking about, implement those on each job description that you're putting on your resume. Even if you think it might not apply for your military career, I guarantee you that if you put program manager or asset manager or something like that, you can implement it into your resume so that it describes somewhat of what you did in the military that applies to the job that you want.
So if you look at right here where it says project manager, right, aircraft maintenance technical order data, this applies specifically to outside. Records management is a huge thing within the federal systems, and actually RMS is something that's in every single federal agency. So these are things that I want to highlight. I did this back when I was a rookie, like I think I was like an E3 or maybe an E4, where I was in charge of technical orders, right? And it might sound like, well, you're the TODO, you're the back office, B, the Bob. But at the end of the day, I actually was doing project management. I started a project. The thing about a project and a program, the difference between a project and a program is that a project has a beginning and an end, whereas a program is continuous. You start it and it just continues. It just never stops. It keeps going. So I highlight that because that's something that is used for the stuff that I still do, and I want them to make sure they get that. I don't want to show you all the degrees that I have, so I'm just I'm gonna take them down. But here I have the degree that I had, the institute that I went to, and then the degree that I have, and I have the GPA because they do require, for some positions, not all, they want to know your GPA, and they're gonna ask for your transcript, so you can't even BS them, but at least they know where you sit. I was valedictorian in Dean's List, so I did put that in the asterisk below that degree, just to highlight, how do you put awards that you did, within education. But I don't want to sit there and write resume bullets about the school and education that I did. Different certifications that I have. Why is this certification important to what I'm doing? I'm trying to go to the VA. You know, ultimately, that's where I would love to end up back is the VA. And sometimes they ask for, do you have CPR and first aid? So
So
if they certify EMT, you know,
one
kind of
of,
high.
one of the things that I touched on last time is that a lot of the times they have like special teams that when a disaster happens, even if, say for me, working as an analyst, and I have an EMT background, and they see that on your resume, or they see that it's recorded, and a disaster happens somewhere else,
Yeah.
and they don't have an opening for an analyst on that particular disaster that as a deployment, you can go in and get leave from your current job.
As a detail.
Yeah, the detail that we were talking about,
Yeah.
and get picked up as an EMT because they might be short EMTs. So that's why it's good to put those certifications.
Correct. Notable awards. I put my notable awards. They want to see that, you know. And then lastly, my technical skills. Why? Because some organizations might review things that come from Macintosh or Mac products, but most of government agencies are using PC. But you know what's funny is that they use iPhones when they issue you a phone.
Yeah, they do. I have
They
one
use,
right.
which is silly, but because Android matches up better with PCs, but you know, whatever, for whatever reason they use iPhones, and that's why you need to be clear that you know both systems. I have software and databases that they use, so these are the ones that I work with within the federal agencies. Some of them are military as well. And then different types of office programs that you might work. One big one is this one, SharePoint. They still use that. PowerPoint. Can you develop a PowerPoint slides and presentations to leadership? Excel is huge, and Outlook is huge. Project they really don't use, but it is something that that I've worked with in the federal government. And then, you know, my AutoCAD West, so I can read policies and law. Most of the stuff that I do is within Westlaw and Lexis. So those are other type of software and platforms that I can read. Uh, so just, you know, highlight the things that you can technically do, and we're back. But it's very simple to get a federal resume. Just make sure you insert the address, your supervisor, how much money you made, what was your last position, and then include, of course, information that's relevant to the position that you're looking for. And highlight that information. In, like I said, you can go all the way to 5 pages, and it's okay in a federal resume.
Yeah.
Whereas the civilian side, you don't want to go past 2. You know, so my civilian resume is a lot shorter than this. It doesn't, you know, emphasize. But for me, is making sure that I emphasize my federal service because that's big. That they know where you're coming from if you're trying to go lateral or pick up another assignment or anything.
Yeah. And so bam, you created a federal resume, and they send you an email saying that you were selected for the interview process. And this is where a lot of people get a little afraid because you know
Takes
it's a
forever.
federal job. The biggest thing to note is be honest, man. The
Yeah.
very first question they're going to ask you is why do you want to work for the federal government? And it might seem like a very simple question, but it's very important because every federal job, even as a contractor, subcontractor, or not a subcontractor, but a contractor or a federal employee, you're going to get sworn in. If you've been in the military, the swearing process is very simple. But they want to know, why do you want to work for the federal government?
Yeah.
So don't be afraid, and don't lie. Because if you say, like on the resume, that you tell them, oh yeah, I have X amount of experience in project management and creating spreadsheets, financial or financial projections, and things like that.
You're
On
gonna
the
have to
interview,
show it.
yeah, on the interview, they're going to ask you questions, and they will want to know how you've done these projections and, you know, some lingo that will relate to that particular topic that you might have emphasized, or, you know, just don't lie.
So I have a question. Will, going back to your to the resume, all those detailed information, everything. So this is something, a question that's been asked several times. Okay, this is what I did in the military. Where can I find this information based on my job that I did, where I can transfer it into the resume? So based on the job that I want to get, you know, with the federal government.
The website that I like to use is ONET.
Okay.
Let me see if I can. Let me make sure that I'm getting.
But
One
again,
ten.
so you can be able to transfer the words from, say that, because I believe ONET will tell you, okay, this is the job that I did in the military, and this is a job that I want. But you still want to be able to see that job description right next to it, so that when it spews out, it's an analysis on your job and kind of put it together. You still want to be able to compare the keywords on the job description that you're looking for to the new, I guess, job description that it spews out. So
If
there's
you
still more leg work, man.
if you Google search your AFSC in the Air Force or MOS in the other branches, or
Yeah, it was.
what is the Navy call it? I don't know. The Navy's weird.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares about the Navy. No, they call it their assigned dude. I don't remember what they call it. But anyways, if you Google search your AFSC or MOS, and your advancement, whatever level you were, it will tell you a description of that job. Now what you have to go do is pick some of that stuff that you actually did within that MOS or AFSC, and be able to translate that to civilian, and that's where ONET will help you out. So here, let me share this real quick. Let me see, share screen. All right, so this is ONET right here. If you look right here, it actually has put your military skills to work. I mean, you can't get more simple than that. You type in, you put in there your information of what you're trying to do. So search careers, know it when it is, and then like my last job. So if you type in right here, let's go Air Force, and let's go 1A. So if I type in 1A, I can look up exactly what career field I was, and then they'll tell you. So let's just look for this one, aircraft cargo handling, and it tells you like basic skills, knowledge, business knowledge that you have that you might not be thinking of. And that's the big thing, is that you read this stuff and then you think, oh, I remember doing this that actually applies to customer service or management. Basic skills of thinking pros and cons and different ways to solve problems. Well, what kind of problems did you solve when you were in the military? And that's where you apply this. I had, was the load master, and I was trying to, load, 10 aircraft or whatever with, this much weight, and there was a jam, and it, how did I solve the problem? I, did the mathematical calculations to be able to offset the load or whatever it is, Yeah. And so you got to just think outside the box with the information that's given here. This is just the basics of what you did. It's just trying to tell you, this is what they do in that job, like I said. And then what they do, what is it that the general basics, not your specific knowledge or experience that you got,
But this is definitely a good start, a good foundation for somebody that's building their resume post-military, to give them a good foundation to build up on that resume, especially if they already have a career in mind. And
yeah.
Yeah.
And and if you wanted to do this job, actually, it'll tell you right here what the average is that you get
Salary.
paid, and it's very likely that you'll get paid that. Now, every state is different. Here in California, you know, this might be about 80 grand compared to in Alabama, it might be 40 grand. You know, it depends where you live, but it has a check out my state right here or local salary information. So there's a lot of things you kind of got to play around with this website to be able to figure it out. It's ONET, like I said. Hold on, let me make sure I give you the 1 ton line. That's how I remember it. But yeah, it's onetonline.org, and you know, gives you all kinds of stuff. And then if you're looking for an occupation, so say like over here, I'm trying to do in let me see. If I want to do environmental engineering or economist, you know, let's just go with the first one here. It tells you what type of things that person does, so that way you can actually look for or put this in your resume. Oh, I did this, I did that, I did, you know, I have knowledge about this or your experience, so that you can plug this stuff in your resume. This is what they're looking for on a general basis for that specific position of environmental engineers. And it also gives you other names, so that, remember I was talking about how you search in USA Jobs. It gives you air pollution control engineer, engineering consultant, environmental engineer, environmental remediation specialist, hazardous substance engineer. So these are all jobs that might apply to an environmental engineer. So don't limit yourself and just say, well, this is what a specific. Look, you got to do your research and find out what applies to you. You know, that to the job that you're trying to go. And I mean, I could type in on the description of plethora of jobs that you could try to look for, and they're all in there, or at least the basics of what you're trying to get into.
Right.
Yeah. But you know, it's a lot of work on, and you know, we always say this: you gotta advocate for yourself. You gotta put some work in. So
be patient. Take your time. Make sure everything is good to go with your resume.
You got to do the work.
You gotta put some work into that. Was the other thing? Just what would you say if you when you guys starting into applying for some federal jobs, that you guys had like 2-3 different top choices as far as like titles that you guys going after, or was just focusing in just one?
No, you gotta approach it. Look at it as a net. You gotta, if you really want a federal job, you gotta throw out a net that you believe you qualify for. So if you want a program analyst job, if you want a program manager job, and to just throw out that net, but you have to know and feel that you're well qualified for these positions. But throw out the net as wide as possible, so that one of them can hit. Yeah. So, and like you mentioned earlier, be patient, because especially with the government, it's a lengthy hiring process. You might get the email this month, but you won't actually start for another 4 to 6 months, man.
Yeah.
So be patient.
And even if you get the notice saying you qualify, that doesn't mean anything. Just continue putting in your application, because it might say you're one of the highest qualified individuals. That's great. They might not even that might be the end of that one. I can show you probably 100 different jobs that have that on mine, and it just didn't go from there because they're looking for somebody specific, and you might just not be the right person for them. They might want somebody that doesn't do all the stuff that you've done. Right. There is a such thing still with government agencies where you're overqualified. That's not it's the same thing in corporate, and it's the exact same thing in the federal side. There's no like limit of what reason they might say, nah, we'll just pass on this person, you know. Or
definitely.
you know, unfortunately, you know, I don't want to say it, but you know, there's bias. There's bias in any organization where
I'll take that.
they might not want the veteran because they might think they're all like Jose, you know, crazy.
I have a story, and we'll probably end with this, dude. I have a story. My resume back about 2 years ago. My resume. My name is Jose Pila. That's my name, Jose.
You said it with an accent, so now
yeah, because that's my name. My name's Jose,
Yeah.
not Jose, and it's not. It's Jose.
It's Jose.
Well, when the pandemic started, or prior to the pandemic, a couple months prior to the pandemic starting, I had switched all of my resumes on USA Jobs to Joe.
Oh man.
I switched all, and I figured, I was like, oh, you know what? It's going to be the same thing, dude. Pandemic started in February. We got shut down in March.
Yeah.
I got an email. I switched it probably in November of 2019. I switched it to Joe Pila. And by February, I got a hit on the VA telling me that I was a high candidate and things like that. And they gave me an interview. So I don't want to say that, like you mentioned, it was.
Wait. So you're telling me that I got to switch my name to Peter?
Yeah.
Because my first name is Pedro. Holy. Okay.
You know what, dude? I've done this.
And you got to put an accent on the E.
Yeah.
So it's De Leon.
De Leon.
De Leon.
Especially because of my last name. It probably sounds more foreign than Mexican.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. But I mean, I don't want to. I mean, you guys make the speculation. You make the assumptions. But I swear to you that as soon as a couple months after I changed it to Joe Pila, I got an interview to the federal government.
That's sad, man.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Make your assumption, man. I don't know.
Damn.
I'm gonna take it as a coincidence.
It is. It's a very, very.
It had to be like make you think.
Yeah, that doesn't make you think that.
But yeah. Well, that's all I have for resumes.
That's all I got. Man.
I didn't see any comments over here, so not gonna.
My recommendation is be patient and do the work. And if you have a Mexican sounding name,
you're wrong, bro.
I don't know what's worse, Jose or Pedro. I think they're about the same, right?
Yeah, they're
You gotta change it to Peter De Leon.
Peter the Lion.
Yeah,
De Leon.
Peter
De Leon. Yeah. Oh man. Hey guys, it was great information. Definitely. This is one of the biggest pain points for a lot of veterans when it comes to resume. You know, because it's just like you get a lot of different information. Yeah. And I always say, get it from someone who's actually been through the process. Even the civilian side, like if you want to try to get a job as an engineer or as a business consultant, whatever it is that you're trying to go for, go ask someone, hey, do you have something that I can kind of shadow because your title is this and this is something I'm trying to do and there's an opening at your company, you know, because there's always a lot of different, you know, strategies and ways to get your resume seen in the civilian sector and also, you know, in the federal sector, you know, but, you know, this is definitely great stuff, you know. Yeah.
Like always, you know, you can always, you know, send out a DM to any of us and we'll definitely get back to you and try to help you out. You know, I'm not gonna write your resume because I don't hold hands.
Yeah, you know what? I was gonna mention that there's a lot of organizations or there's a lot of people out there that'll tell you I'll build your government resume. Yeah. I honestly I would probably say to try to stay away from that unless you're extremely desperate. No one knows you better than you, and you have to put in the effort.
Exactly. Nobody. Yeah. If anything, write it write your resume, and anybody can review it and tell you, hey, you know what? Maybe you should take this out, or maybe you should add this, or maybe change this word so it sounds better.
Yeah.
Knowing your, different words for the same word that you're saying,
Yeah.
that might re-emphasize what you're trying to come across. Like keen, or streamline, or type of words that you want to look for. And actually on ONET, they have words like that on the search. So that's one big thing, but nobody knows you like Jose said.
Yeah.
I don't even know Jose, and I hang out with him and get,
Oh no.
just hang out with him, and I still
I don't even know.
Jose. I don't know Pedro.
That's one of the pain points I have
It's
with
Peter now, guys. It's Peter.
It's Peter.
Oh yeah.
De Leon.
De Leon.
Joe. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, for
So-
sure.
But I encourage everybody to, there's no time to say, you know what, I'll do it later. Get your butt into USA Jobs and start creating your profile. Start putting that resume together. Start with the USA Job resume, and then download that one, and then go from there and make it your own. Make your own resume that matches all this stuff. Bougie it up so that you can have your own personalized resume. Like Jose said, don't rely on other people to build your resume. You need to build it yourself, and then use some emphasized stuff.
Yeah.
Or words from somebody else. Have somebody always review your resume. You'll be surprised how many times I look at a resume and it has that or the or me or some duplicate word, and you don't see it because you're so in focus on getting the information on paper, and somebody else might be able to say, hey, by the way, you have the same word duplicate on your resume. So simple little things like that,
Yeah.
Grammarly.
Become best friends with a grammar and a vocabulary Nazi. They come in handy.
We have one of those friends.
Yeah.
Or a friend actually.
Yeah, we do. All right, we got to cut it short. Let's do this.
All right, guys. Hey, if you guys watching this, make sure you go to 10 Hut on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. Like this video, share this video. Until
share.
Definitely share this video.
Subscribe.
All right, guys. Until next Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. All right, guys.
And how with the side of whiskey? Drink responsibly.
Yeah, drink responsibly.